Hey, what's up? Just getting going here. Andy MacNeil with VSiN, NHL Analyst. Going to be diving into all 11 games today, hopefully, but we'll touch on the marquee games for sure. And I'm going to be bringing a guest on here pretty soon, but I just wanted to get going and really dive into one game that people probably aren't going to want to talk too much about, and that is the Detroit Red Wings at the Columbus Blue Jackets, sorry, at the Detroit Red Wings. Pull up the player props over here on DraftKings, and I will share with you the puck propagator. And this is the app that you've heard so much about if you've been following along at VSiN, and it's pretty amazing. So we've got Detroit and Columbus. You can see the aggregate implied goals. That's basically what the market thinks the predicted score will be. So you have Detroit with 2.89 goals and Columbus with 2.65 for a total of 5.54. And then if we come down here, I'll get rid of shots for right now because we can't bet on over 0.5 or under 0.5 shots. But if we pull this up here, we've got a list of hundreds, really, of player props. So this is just for one game. We'll take a look here. Let's see. Oliver Borkstrand, good player. What is his under 0.5 points minus 102? That's a fair price. So about a 50-50 chance that Oliver Borkstrand gets a point. And if we look over here on DraftKings, it's plus 105, so there's not a ton of value there, but hey, there's a little bit of value, and that's how we'll go about this, right? So, before too long, I better get my guest, Dom Luszczyszyn, in here, and we'll start breaking down the games. And but we'll look at some more Detroit Red Wings and Columbus Blue Jackets player props here. Another player that obviously people are going to hone in on here is Patrick Liney. And if we look over on DraftKings, plus 100 under 0.5 points. It's a big difference because we've got minus 140 here. If you look over here, where are we? Patrick Liney under 0.5 points. And you can see it highlighted in red right there. Minus 164 is a fair price. That is quite a difference, so quite an edge. Obviously, it's tough to capture everything with a player like Liney going from one team to another. There's a new coach in Columbus, Brad Larson. It's no longer John Tortorella, so things could change there. But yeah, no, it's definitely a value play, that's for sure. And elsewhere, we've got Philip Zadina, another player that'll be right in the thick of things at minus 164. The same as Liney, that's a fair price. And if you look over on DraftKings, you can bet Zadina at minus 155. So it's pretty close there, but still a little bit of an edge. I happen to like Zadina quite a bit. Let me just get the chat up here and see if anybody is in. Woo! Columbus minus 105. Larkin returns tonight. Maybe a goal? Let's see. All right, Nathan. Dylan Larkin goal. What do we have here? So the Propagator says about a 23% chance that Larkin scores a goal, or fair odds of plus 330. What does DraftKings have? I bet it's not plus 330. 175. So if you could find a bet on Larkin not to score a goal, yeah, that might be a good bet. But no, I'm not at plus 175. Zadina over Liney, says Andy. Yeah, that's right. That's right. I agree with that. What else are we going to look at here? Let's see. What players do you guys want to what players do you guys want to see here? Pius Sutter points. Do we have him? Do we have Pius Sutter points? Pretty good selection here. Yeah, Pius Sutter points under 0.5 minus 135, over 0.5 plus 105. Let's see what the Propagator has. Minus 134, so bang on there. No edge whatsoever. So that's a little bit, it's a good sign that things are lining up in some places. What we're trying to do here is sort of, correct the market in a way. Lucas Raymond. Do we have anything for Lucas Raymond? We should have something for Lucas Raymond because, he should be right in the thick of things this year. We do not have Lucas Raymond points. We do have a Lucas Raymond goal. We have to have a Lucas Raymond goal. What are the chances of that? And yeah, plus 270. And I'm going to guess that we don't like that according to the Propagator. Where's Lucas Raymond? Is he in here? I should have him in here. That is weird. Maybe I forgot to put him in. I went through the roster today and missed him. That's unfortunate. So, that's going to happen. 11-game slate. You are going to miss things. But thanks for bringing him up and putting me on the spot like that. What is it? What did you say? You're guessing plus 375 for a goal. Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't think so. Who else do we have here? Obviously, okay, so we like Patrick Liney under 0.5 goals at plus 100. We also like, we sort of like Zadina under 0.5 points at minus 155, but not a lot. What about Zach Werenski at minus 174 is our projection, and minus 145 at DraftKings. So there's a bet. Zach Werenski under 0.5 points. Basically, it's not to get a point. Obviously, minus 145 because our projection, is minus 174. Boone Jenner, where's he at? He's not here. That's odd. Pretty prominent player. Voracek points. DK has under 0.5 minus. What do we have for Voracek? Plus Voracek. DK has 0. Yeah, okay. So, yeah, minus 125 on under points for Voracek. But we have that at minus 113. So that isn't a play. Can you see the Propagator all right on the screen? Or should we maybe look at cutting off blurry? Okay. Let's cut off assists and zoom in a little bit. How's that? Is that better? I think that should be better. We can zoom in even a little more than that, probably. What about that? Well, it's the first stream, so it's going to be a little bit clunky. And we'll figure things out as we go. So Tyler Bertuzzi goals plus 172. What do they have? What do they have at DraftKings? He's been on fire. Plus 175, so right on the money. I don't have a play on the game line here. Sometimes there's games on a big slate that I just choose to write off because there's so much to focus on. I'm not seeing any value. I'm not seeing a scenario where any value will be created, and that's kind of the case with the Blue Jackets and Red Wings. Obviously, there was a goalie change and a bit of a shift in the odds there. I believe we have the Blue Jackets at plus 105. But I wouldn't take that, and I don't think I definitely wouldn't lay minus 125 with the Wings here. So player props are where we should focus our attention here on this game. Let's see if Dom is here. No, not yet. Just double check with him. He is a procrastinator. We had to move this stream because you know, it was inconvenient for him. No, I'm just joking. He's a good fella, and he'll help add some context to what we're doing here. So, is that any better? Can you see this? Like, I can see it. I'm looking at a little box on a laptop. I'm looking at other screens too, but I can see this little box on a laptop, and I can basically read Bertuzzi minus 172 plus 1. I'm seeing it pretty good. So I don't know. Maybe you got to get your eyes checked there, J. Raj. But we will look at a few more props while we wait for Dom to jump in the stream. Oh, there he is.
Hi.
Hi there. How are you?
I'm good. I was here as you were talking shit about me being a procrastinator. I was here right on time.
Were you? Well,
4:30 on the dot.
Oh well, I checked, and I mean it looked like you were a little bit late.
I like your hat. Very Rob Lowe at the Super Bowl vibes.
That's what I call this hat, the Rob Lowe hat. I also got an MLB hat that has two eagles fighting over a National League and an American League logo, and that's that's just go sports, right?
Yeah. Go sports.
Yeah, so I decided to pick off a game that I thought nobody would care at all about, and that's the Blue Jackets and Red Wings. Found a little bit of value here, and there was one player prop that you had brought up earlier that you liked, and that was Patrick Liney under points at plus 100, I believe, because we have it at minus 164. And I was going to add a little bit of context to that because, it is tough when you have a player like Liney. He's switched teams in the last season. He's got a new coach. He's got new line mates. So there's a lot there. But I definitely think it's a value bet for sure.
Yeah, there seems to be a massive discrepancy between what you have and what the line is. I'm not a big Liney fan. I think he's looked a little better over these first two games compared to
he looks really good walking into the rink. I mean,
and that is also fair, but at the same time, there's a game where he's going to disappear, and it feels like this is a good letdown spot. And I think at even money, why not for a guy who he scored like a 40-point pace last year? I feel like it just.
Yeah, totally. And Columbus is kind of inept offensively as well. So, I mean, this could easily be a 2-1 Detroit Red Wings win here. I don't have any action on this game. It was like I said, one of those games that, I looked at it at the slate today. It's an 11-game slate. Why not make it a 10-game slate? Make it a little easier on myself. Mm-hmm. Do you have any play on the sides here or the total?
I ended up playing Detroit when Korpisalo was announced as a starter. I think there was a pretty massive difference between him and Elvis Merzlikins, and I think I played minus 110 around there, and I think I played minus 120 or something like that.
Totally, I agree with you. There's a big difference, but for me, for my pricing, it just didn't work out where there was any value on Columbus after the change. It was kind of irrelevant to me. Mm-hmm. But we can move on here to something that actually does matter since we have this stream started. Let's get on to Colorado and Washington because I actually do have a play on this game, and I'm wondering if you do too. I didn't get a chance to check out your daily betting article over at The Athletic today, but early this morning, way earlier than you typically see any news on Twitter, I was just up doing, my usual morning thing, and that doesn't usually involve scrolling Twitter for news, but I just happened to look and I saw that Nathan MacKinnon had tested negative, and he was boarding a plane to DC, and at that time the Colorado Avalanche were anywhere from plus 110 all the way to minus 105. So I spent the rest of my morning trying to get down as much as I could on the Colorado Avalanche, and I did a pretty good job there, and I believe they are about a minus 125 or minus 120 favorite at this point.
Yeah.
So where are you at here before we get into some player props maybe?
So I actually had an edge on them at plus 110 before MacKinnon was announced, And so I bet a little bit on that, went to walk my dog, figured also that I was, safe from the news and I can just do my thing. And then I get a push notification from a Daily Face Off or whatever and says McKinnon is in. And that was 1 minute old. And by that time, the line was already at like minus 105. So I just blindly bet from my phone, no idea what the edge was. Just like, yep, this looks
Got to
about
do
right.
it.
And I got home, the line was still there, and I undershot it, so I just added a bit more. But that's probably one of my bigger plays of the night now.
Yeah, cool. I'm really excited about this. So it's obviously going to go up in flames. I get really excited. I get really excited, obviously, whenever you get a great number, and when it's on the best team in the league. Like, we may never get the Avalanche with Nathan MacKinnon in the lineup at plus money at another point in this season. So I mean, in this sort of situation, right, playing a sort of mediocre team like the Capitals, but as far as the player props go, something I like to do with the reports, there are tons of edges, and what we're doing here, and if you'll notice up here on the Propagator, you can see the aggregate implied goals and what that is. I'm not really explaining this to you, Dom. You know what it is, but we're taking the market lines, the money line, and the total, and we're reverse engineering that to figure out what the predicted score is. And here we have 3 to 2.91. That's based on the odds, and it's from a couple of hours ago, the last update. So the snapshot of the sportsbook odds at that time. But we're not. There's going to be edges on both sides, and what I like to do is I sort of like to align my player props with my bets, because you don't want to be cheering for player props against bets, because if you're like me, you've got a lot more money down on the sides than you do on the player props, because the markets are so much smaller. So I've been looking at some Capitals, and I know you have too. You like Ovechkin under points? I'll have to pull that up to see what the price is on that.
Yeah, it was a small edge, I think, but I'm the same way. You pulled up the Propagator for me, and I'm like, okay, which teams did I bet on? And try to fade the other team in terms of getting like under points. I figure like the two things are probably correlated. You might as well double down and get both, right?
Yeah. So Ovechkin to score a point is plus 155. I played plus 160 in the last game versus the Lightning, and he did end up getting a point. But I also played Evgeny Kuznetsov at plus 110, so a small profit, splitting 1 and 1. And today Kuznetsov is plus 115, and the Propagator prices him at minus 144. So even if the Propagator is a little bit too bullish there, it's still probably a value bet for sure, and one that should win more often than it loses. So once again, I think Kuznetsov and Ovechkin, they can put up points, but they're not going to put up points as much as like Ovechkin would if Backstrom were in the lineup. So I do kind of like this strategy of betting against both players to score points here at plus money odds.
Yeah, you know what? I apparently didn't scroll down far enough because Kuznetsov price seems a lot better. But if they're playing together and you fade one, might as well fade both if there's an edge.
Yeah, totally, and it's gonna bite you sometimes. I know last year I did really well, correlating some of these props and on players that are playing on the same line and betting against all of them to score points. But then there are situations like last year in the playoffs with Nick Suzuki and Cole Caulfield that just blows up in your face. But I believe there was also an edge on John Carlson to score a point, and we have him at minus 134. And that's plus 115 as well, just like the Kuznetsov prop. So kind of a trio there. If you can get Colorado, which is a really good defensive team, and Darcy Quenford to maybe only let in one today. That those are 3 bets that could win, along with a money line wager on the Colorado Avalanche. Is there anybody else? Anthony Mantha. I don't know if that edge is as big. No, minus 145 on the under, not to get a point, and we think it's minus 170. So still a bit of value there. Once again, the puck Propagator. It's powered by Range Hockey, and you'll find a lot of content that's powered by this over at VSiN.com. What game interests you outside of Oh, I think you had some from Vancouver and Buffalo, and that's a good one too. Oh no, don't want Dallas and Pittsburgh. Um, Vancouver and Buffalo. Where are you? There you are. All right, goals and points. So you bet on Buffalo, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I did bet
Yeah.
Buffalo. I don't personally love that bet. I know.
I started thinking about this after you said, "Oh,
Yeah.
I did the exact same thing, and I tried to
Uh,
find player prop." I'm like, "You dirty."
yeah. Are you on Vancouver?
Yes, I'm on
Yeah,
Vancouver.
I think I'm alone on an island betting on Buffalo tonight. And I got some extremely fortunate news that Hughes might not be playing. So that makes me feel a little better.
That's that athletic insider info right there.
Got a push notification like 10 minutes ago. So that is good news for my bet, but
10 minutes
Hughes,
ago, well, that would not have impacted my decision
yeah.
10 hours ago.
Yeah, I had an edge regardless, but when everyone I talked to was like, "Yeah, I bet Vancouver," I'm like, "Great, cool." Just gonna sweat this one out apparently, but hope I can win and all my friends are not too sad about it.
So yeah, you probably the thing is though is your friends are kind of playing a different game. I mean, if they were betting Vancouver when it opened, that's a different game. I mean, it's not
Yeah.
even comparable. We're looking at a minus 160 plus 140 split on the game here now, I believe. Or at least that's where it was. Yeah, minus 160 plus 140 consensus price, where it opened at minus 130 plus 110. So
Mhm.
congratulations on your bet, but you can't. It's apples to oranges trying to get down on bets on game day as opposed to late last night or early this
Mhm.
morning. But yeah, so what players did you end up picking out there as far as ones that you wanted to bet against?
It seems there was an edge on both Pedersen and Besser under half a point.
Besser
I,
makes his return tonight,
yeah,
or he's probable, I guess. I don't think it's
yeah,
been confirmed.
yeah. It's not confirmed, but he is probable, and I think the line is plus 170, and you guys have him at like plus 112, not to score a point. So I thought that was pretty damn good, especially since Besser's probably what like a 60-point scorer. I don't know.
Yeah, we have him at ooh, points. Yeah, plus 112 is under for the fair price on under points here, and you said plus 170.
Yeah, which
You
is
saw
higher than Pedersen's line, which seems a bit wild to me. Pedersen's only plus 140, not
it,
to score a
it
point.
It could totally be, and I'm just guessing here. It could totally be that something at the sportsbook is automated, and
Hmm.
this stuff doesn't exactly go through the best quality control before making its way to the site. And I'm sure there aren't a ton of people lining up here to
Hmm.
bet the Vancouver and Buffalo game at
Yeah.
DraftKings. But yeah, no. So I basically fade the Stars here if you like the Buffalo Sabres
Hmm.
like Dom does. I don't like the Buffalo Sabres here. I I don't think Dom likes. I
Oh,
should
I don't.
rephrase that. I don't think Dom likes the Buffalo Sabres. If you don't like the Vancouver Canucks and you think there's a little bit of ugly value on betting a team like the Buffalo Sabres, then you want to fade the Stars here because you're going to get big prices betting against Elias Pettersson, Brock Besser. Connor Garland, even though I don't like saying that because he's kind of my bae right now. I really like
Hmm.
him, but yeah, I mean these are basically coin flips here. These players are going to get a point about 50% of the time. So if you're betting plus 170 on Brock Besser to get a point, not to get a point, you're making a good bet that's going to lose 50% of the time. You've got to live with that sometimes. But a lot of fun player props here for sure. Like I said, I'm on the Canucks. It didn't make its way onto the report because it
Hmm.
was sort of something I just happened. Actually, I was offered a good price, and I took it from a friend, and just a little friendly wager. But I did manage to get some minus 154, I believe. So I was happy with that because I make this game around minus 165. But as you said, that's assuming Hughes is in the lineup, and
Hmm.
hopefully your information is BS because that would really suck.
You're gonna go on Twitter after this and be like, ah, fuck.
Is it all over Twitter right now?
I think Rick Diwali was the one who tweeted it.
Did he confirm it?
I think he said he may not play tonight. He's questionable. Not sure why. So we will see what happens. I think regardless, just looking at the Besser Pedersen lines, I think Besser being that high is ridiculous in and of
I
itself.
agree with that.
And even if you like Vancouver in this game, I feel like you can't really pass up Brock Besser not scoring a point at plus 170. He's not. I don't even think he's on the Pedersen line either.
All right, so let's move on to Florida over Tampa. See somebody in the chat wants to talk about that game, and that is something that I believe is on TV for a lot of people, so probably a good one to touch on here. If I'm new to betting on hockey, what is the best time to wager on games? Well, the best time to wager on games would be when you get the best odds, which is probably overnight, but you're going to have the least information, so you got to do a little bit more work to put something together at that time. I do most of my betting early in the morning when the NHL betting market report comes out, a little bit prior to that, because I feel at that point I do have enough information, and a lot of sports books have lines open and limits up at that time. So it all depends on what type of sports bettor you are. If you're a recreational sports bettor, or you're just trying to have a little bit of fun, you probably do want to work a day ahead and try to keep a day ahead of things. You'll find yourself with far better odds more often than not if you're making the right types of bets. But yeah, Florida over Tampa Bay. Do you have anything here, Dom? I make this one sort of a coin flip. Tampa Bay, small favorite now that Nikita Kucherov is out. Don't know exactly what's going to go on with him, but kind of deja vu all over here again, with the Lightning and their top star. But are you on Florida here, or did you buy on the Lightning when the line came down, or what?
I think I missed the Lightning line coming down. I have Tampa Bay minus 118, and I think right now it's right around market price. I ended up playing it. I think I might just watch it because it's always an amazing game between those two, and maybe if there is a lead early, I might bet the opposing team because those games tend to have a lot high scoring and a lot of lead changes that it might be worth a live bet. But then again, I live bet the Leafs last night when they were pillaging the Rangers, and that didn't end up coming to
I wrote basically like a first thoughts on all 32 teams thing for Point Spread Weekly this week, and I touched on the Rangers a little bit, and I basically said if you want to see a perfect snapshot of what this team is, just watch that overtime period, because that's how they're going to have to win games. They're going to have to basically hang on for dear life and let Igor Shesterkin do his thing, and hope that their high end talent can eventually break through. But my word, that was scary as somebody who ended up on the Rangers at plus 165. Is the Propagator open to the public? It is not open to the public. Maybe someday, but right now this is where we're at. You'll find a lot of stuff in the reports going forward, and you can check out previous reports if you're looking to get a feel for what that's all about. But I'm hoping to make the live streams with bringing people like Dom and other guests on a regular thing. So we'll go from here. Yeah, no problem, Jonathan. So we'll go. I got both games up here. We'll get rid of Vancouver, Buffalo. What time are we at here? 2-4. Okay, we're doing pretty good. So I was looking at Aaron Ekblad. I got to double check here. Obviously, he's on the power play, and that's scary. But I do believe it was a pretty big price here. I just need to find. It's so tough with these sports books. They all have different, user interfaces, and it's like, where do you put everything? They should all use the same skin and just put everything. They all want to change sports betting. Let's just make it all the same. So it's like, I know what I'm doing. But anyways, it's there's so many offerings, so I totally understand. It gets a little bit tough to put everything where it might be best to put it. But
is there a line for Sam Reinhart?
Is there a line on him not to get a point, or what?
Yeah, what's the line for him not to get a point? Because right now he's sitting on the third line and not power play one. So I think that's
minus 135. We have it at minus 154. So I think combined with Dom's little tidbit there that Reinhardt is on the third line and not on the power play, you said?
Yeah, I think power play one they have. I could be wrong. I need to check daily faceoff. I think they had Bennett there, and it depends whether they have Hornqvist or Reinhardt instead.
Okay, so I really like that then. That's a great bet. If you say that, because we've got about a 20-cent edge, and then when you consider what you just said, it makes it a lot more attractive. There's some of these players are tough. I mean, Mackenzie Wieger, for example, what do we have him at? Roughly minus 230 not to get a point, and he's at minus 130. So a huge edge. But maybe the propagator isn't capturing something, or maybe the sportsbook is just really, really off. I mean, those are the things to consider. And
he's how much to not get a point? Mackenzie Wieger, minus 130,
minus 135. Minus 130, yes, and we have him at minus. The propagator has him at minus 230, so it's 100 cents off.
Like a 45 point defenseman. That seems pretty.
I know. I mean, there was a few that I really thought were strange here. What was the one that I added to the report today? It was Seth Jones at minus 135 under points. I thought that was crazy. We've got
that's just because he's had a hot start. Maybe that's why.
Maybe 2 assists. Whatever. Were they even first assists? Like,
I don't think so. But
yeah, two secondary assists. Yeah.
Give the K and give it to DeBrincat. It's a goal.
Totally. Yeah. No. And that. The fact that they're playing the Islanders did make me like the wager a little bit more, because the Isles don't take a lot of penalties, and they'll probably do a good job staying out of the box. But I didn't end up with anything on this game either. But any book recommendations for Canada? I mean, it's sort of. I'm not going to recommend everybody. I've never been one to do promotion for anybody. Really, until they pay me. And I mean, there are a lot of sports books out there. None of them are going to steal your money. Some of them are going to offer you good odds. Some of them are going to offer you bad odds. There are websites out there that are somewhat impartial in reviewing, like Sportsbook Review, I think, has some pretty objective reviews on some sports books. You can do your research, but it's just about any sports book you see out in the public sphere, your money is going to be safe. I wouldn't be too worried about that, but look for the sports book that offers you the best price more often than not, and shop around, have multiple accounts. How big of a factor is the starting goalie in your daily handicapping? How big is typical drop off to backup? Well, obviously there's no kind of big picture answer there for the drop off to back off, but maybe 1 or 2%. And the goalie is important, but I mean, with a little, I think if you use a little bit of common sense, and kind of look at the way teams do things, unless it's a back-to-back situation or whatnot. And there are specific things that you have to watch out for. For example, Gerard Gallant of the Rangers, he's not going to be revealing any starting goaltenders this season. So, I mean, it's a case-by-case basis. But if I'm confident that a goaltender is going to start, and I don't see a reason why a coach would, go the other way and start a backup, I'll usually make a bet regardless of whether I got a confirmation. Do you feel the same way about that, Tom?
Yeah, I was burned a few times last year. I think in like 1 week span, I was burned like 3 times, and it was brutal. But I feel like generally I have a decent handle of.
But do you feel like if you didn't do things that way, you would miss out on a lot of good bets that are winners, and probably not make or not profit as much at the end of the season?
It depends. I feel like there's certain goalie situations where I like desperately need the confirmation, because I don't want to be saddled with like. For example, if I bet Tampa and there was like any inkling that Brian Elliott might start, I am waiting, because that's probably like one of the bigger like differences that I have. But like
that could flip you to the other side.
Yeah, on Friday, you might have been on the other side, so I'm sorry for bringing this up, but I had a good feeling Kevin Lankinen would start because Fleury was likely to get the Pittsburgh game on Saturday. So I bet before that news came on the Devils, and I think beat some line movement because of that.
Well, and you bring up a great point here, though, because I was on that game, and I did note in the report that that's how I was handicapping the game, because I think anybody that watches hockey, anybody that bets on hockey, if you're it's in your best interest to look ahead a day or two to see what's coming. I mean, it's going to help you avoid making mistakes like, assuming that a goaltender is going to start and not realizing that, hey, he's probably going to start against the tougher team the next day. But I think it goes to show you just how kind of not sharp the market is sometimes, because it seems like sometimes when these situations or these scenarios are so obvious to people like us, and lots of other people I think pick this stuff up as well. The market doesn't, and I mean, it seems like the news has to come in from the source before anybody is willing to speculate on some of these things, which I find kind of strange, because there is a lot of speculation out there in the sports betting market, right?
Yeah, there's a fair bit of speculation, and sometimes you can make a very, very educated guess and be like 90% close, but it's just fair to be cautious in the times where it could be like a 50-50 thing.
Totally. And one more on this Tampa Bay and Florida game here. We've got Aaron Ekblad at -160 to get a point over at DraftKings, and the Propagator lines that one closer to -200. So a little bit scary there. It looks like he's a guy that could get a point more often than not, but still a value bet nonetheless.
Hold on, is Mackenzie Wieger more likely to get a point, or am I reading that? I think I'm reading that
Mackenzie Wieger is more likely to get a point than Aaron Ekblad, according to DraftKings. Not according to the Propagator. According to the Propagator, Mackenzie Wieger is going to get a point about 30% of the time, and Aaron Ekblad is going to get a point about 33% of the time. So that adds up, in my opinion. That sounds right. And obviously the people making the lines aren't looking at it as closely as we are. So that's why there is a lot of value in here. And I do think in regards to making something like this public, I mean, you have to be careful with how you go about that, because it could really totally blow things up in a very in a really quick way, right? So if this product is as good as I think it is, then we would ruin the player prop market for everybody. I mean, and who needs to do that, right? So you have to be careful with that. And that's something to take into consideration, I think, when thinking about that. Another bet I had today was the Islanders. I like them to put it together today against a Blackhawks team that really hasn't looked good. I think I paid -115 or maybe a little bit worse than that as an average price. So I don't know where we're at now. To be honest, I don't really care. I think, we're at around -120, -125. It looks like could be a little bit lower in places. I'm not sure. Did you have any sort of play on this game?
I was so close to being on Chicago, and I was happy it started drifting back that I didn't have to play anything on this tire fire of a team.
Yeah.
I think if it got to like +115, I would have been sitting on the Blackhawks, and I would have had a very uncomfortable day with a few dogs that I don't love. Yeah,
it's funny. I've Ekblad -122 at Pinnacle. That is a nice price there. So take full advantage of that if you're in a location where you can do that. I think it's funny. A lot of people have thought that we've been like working together and stuff over the last number of years, because I've been pretty quiet for the most part. You do your thing, but you don't. You've never really released anything until 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. Daily.
Mountain time.
Yeah, Mountain Time. Yeah, sorry. But 10 a.m. Eastern. But I mean, I think people will see now. Anybody that follows you every day, that starts to see what I'm doing. Like we have tons of disagreements, and we're always on different sides. But it's not about that, right? I mean, we're playing the same game and going about things the same way. And it's not really about picking winners or anything like that. And we just have a little bit of disagreement on pricing sometimes, but I can tell you right now, like, I mean, if I ever go through a tough stretch and you're doing really good, I'm going to start looking at your stuff a little harder and be like, what am I missing, right? What am I doing wrong? Do I need to like look into something a little bit more? And I've done it in the past, and I've helped out, and I'm sure maybe you've asked me questions, or somebody like Rob Pizzola or anybody like that. It's good to have people like-minded people that you can talk to these talk with about these things. Sorry. But yeah, I don't have any props that I personally bet for the Islanders game today. It's just been a busy day with a lot going on. But I do think there's probably some. Oh yeah, sorry, I do have Seth Jones. I keep forgetting he's on the Blackhawks. But yeah, no, it's going to be an interesting game because the Islanders, like, they have not looked good, and neither has Chicago. But I mean, if we were betting men, I mean, you'd think that the Islanders would be the more likely team to turn it around and kind of put it all together today, right?
Yeah, I would say so. It's why I saw like some value of Chicago and waited to get more and not sewer myself with something that's only like marginal.
Totally.
I like the Islanders a fair bit. I think they will figure it out and pull it together, but their start has been a bit shaky. I do believe in them a lot more than Chicago for sure. Even if we were on different sides as well, both of us, I think getting the best number we can. If you were minus 115 and I was plus 115, I mean, can't really complain about that too much.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but I agree with you what you said about, like, when you're looking at a really ugly bet that you don't really want to make, but you will make if it gets to a certain point, you really want to hold out. There's no reason to rush into those. Like, there are so many bets that I'll end up passing on throughout the season. Some of them are winners, some of them are losers. But it's just a matter of I'm being greedy. I want to get the best price, the best conceivable price. Like, I'm thinking in my mind, what could possibly push this? Where could this possibly go? And if I think there's a chance it could get to plus 125, I don't want to take 15 or 20, right? So I'm going to wait it out. And if it doesn't get there and it comes back, I missed it, and that's that.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. There was, I think, the first game of the season, I think the Montreal Canadiens came into range, but like just barely. And I almost bet on them, and I'm a Leafs fan, so I wanted the Leafs to win. So I sort of hesitated and be like, I don't know if I want to bet against Leafs in game one. So I waited it out, and I missed it. And then the Habs opened the scoring. I'm like, of course, they're going to win this one. And thankfully they didn't, and I made a good decision waiting it out.
We got a good question here. Jonathan in the chat. At what kind of an edge do you guys fire? 1% or more? Pretty much.
Yeah.
It's give or take. I know Dom is betting his stuff razor thin for the most part. Sometimes I might have a little bit of a higher threshold for what I consider a play, but where are you at, Dom?
I looked into this because I told you that I have like a conditional highlighting on like what percentage edge, and it's actually set at like 2%. So anything under that, I'll start like maybe considering not betting. But I think this early in the season, because the lines have been so tight so far, I've been hungry for volume that I've just been like betting everything. And
totally.
So for like today, I think Detroit, Seattle, Nashville, I got at a decent price or whatever, and they were like low threshold bets where I should be iffy, but I mean, I like them all, so why not?
Yeah, cool. I want to talk to you about that really quick. Don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but stumbled across an NHL betting article on a website the other day, and they have their own model, their own prices, kind of like what you're doing over at The Athletic, but at the same time, nothing like what you're doing over at The Athletic. And they suggested that you pass on 1 to 4% edges, and that you only bet, the only recommended bets that they'll give out are edges of 5% or more. And that is ludicrous because people like us that have been doing this for a long time relative to most people, maybe come up with something like that a handful of times, and it's usually because of something like catastrophic, like maybe around the trade deadline when a team has to ice an AHL team because they just traded away 6 players or something like that. Like, it's very rare, and it's usually only happens when, you know, a trio, like if you know, you were to find out that both McKinnon and Landeskog and Devin Taves were coming back all at the same time, you might find that sort of edge, right? But other than that, it's just crazy to think that you're that much smarter than everybody else.
Yeah. For me, like I'm there with McKinnon because I think I have him worth like almost 5% by himself. So the fact that I had an edge without him and then him coming in, that ended up being a play in the 5% range. But that is so very rare for me that,
Yeah.
I mean, to think to only go to the 5% bets would be, I'd be waiting.
You would never bet.
I'd have like 5 bets a year or something.
Yeah. So I just want to double check on a couple of more players from this game. So we got points. We'll be able to dive. I kind of just stuck to points today because there's so much to talk about, so much to go in. I mean, on a shorter slate with fewer games, you know, you can dive into shots on goals and assists and whatnot. But a guy like DeBrincat, what do we have him at? Okay, so minus 133. Is it? No, plus 133. I was looking at the wrong. So, okay, that's in line. Anders Lee, minus 105 to go over, minus 120 to go under. Anders Lee, plus 110 to go under. Okay. Yeah, things are looking pretty tight here. Matthew Barzal, what do we have him at? Minus 107 under. DraftKings has Barzal at plus 115. What's Barzal? Around a 65, 70 point kind of guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, and seems to be not always on. So maybe a little bit of value there. I mean, according to the Propagator, it's a bet that should be chalked up on the other side, but it's not. It's plus 115. It should be minus 107. And we have Patrick Kane. That's the other great thing about this. We can slide it over to 1.5 and look at Patrick Kane over under 1.5 points because he's the only one on this list that has that, obviously. But over 1.5 points plus 170, and we have it at plus 288. And obviously there's going to be a big straddle here because of the vigorish. But what is it at? Minus 225 under 1.5 points, minus 288. So some value on Patrick Kane under 1.5 points. You know, it should hit roughly 74% of the time. So if you want to lay some chalk and take a chance with that, by all means. Let's see, who should we talk? I mean, we've probably got to talk. Do you want to talk about Actually, we've got a question that I missed. Sorry for not getting to that earlier. Oh, Dom, you have Kraken plus 125. Should I get them at plus 135? I guess what he's asking is, has anything changed since you bet the Kraken at plus 125, or is it just a difference of opinion with the market right now?
I think my line was plus 125, so earlier on in the day it was around the same price, so I didn't list it as a play, but now that it's 135, I did end up playing it at that price.
Okay, cool. What is Dallas and Pittsburgh? Let's talk about them because I think there is some value here. I know Tyler Seguin under points is going to be a play because...
I think you're on 1.5 points there still.
Oh, really? Oh, yes, I am. Thank you very much. Back. All right. Yeah, so player props, and we will go down, and I want to look at Tyler Seguin because I think it is minus 130, and I made this bet last game. We've got it priced at minus 196. I'm a little weary about the projection, to be honest, and I actually reached out to Cole, who's behind Range Hockey and behind the Puck Propagator, about this, and I talked to him about how obviously you don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, but for a player like Sagan, is there anything that we can do and he missed all of last year. He was a point per game player pretty much right up until 2019-20. So only one season he really fell off for. But then you look at some of his underlying numbers and stuff, and I kind of pulled back on that, and I was like, you know what, if this is suggesting that he's going to get under a point, roughly 66% of the time, then I'm going to buy in on that, and I'm going to bet at that minus 130 or minus 125 or whatever it is. So how do you feel about something like this?
I actually got a hot tip from Todd Cordell earlier today where he was mystified at Tyler Seguin and Jamie Benn's XG percentage this year. I think it was something like 24%. So they are playing terribly.
Yeah,
depends on what you believe in the player, I guess.
That's a great tip. I looked at Sagan's expected goal over at Evolving Hockey after the game against the Senators because I had bet against him under. I believe it was under two. No, it was under points. Might have bet against him to get under 2.5 shots as well, but definitely not to get a point. And I just wanted to look to see if he was threatening at all. And I believe it was 0.04 expected goals in that game on 4 shot attempts. So not much going on there. So I think you should definitely feel comfortable laying minus 130 on Tyler Seguin not to get a point. I did end up actually, right before we did this stream, it came out that I just wanted to make sure that Klingberg was not going to be in the lineup, and that was confirmed. And I was able to take some minus 122 or minus 123 on the Penguins. Not a lot, not a big bet. A lot of other sports books were already at around, I think, minus 130, minus 135. But do you have anything on this game? I wasn't really looking at it early this morning, but I did have it in the back of my mind. But I definitely wasn't going to pay minus 130 or minus 135 to find out later that Klingberg would be in the lineup. But between Holtby starting and Klingberg being out, I like the Penguins here at that price.
I can't believe the Penguins are winning as much and as
I can't either.
As they have. It seems wild to me, but with like Holtby in, I have like minus 120, so I don't think I really have much there on either side. But I'm not a.
Dallas has looked bad. Maybe they come out tonight. Maybe they come out tonight and they put it all together, and you're like, oh yeah, there's the team. But like they were a team that I thought was going to be a lot better this year because obviously you've got guys that haven't been healthy that are healthy now, but they look really discombobulated. And I mean, the Senators, I thought, worked them and they were right on top of them the whole time. I know Dallas was on a back-to-back, I believe, but not good signs. The Rangers, I think, outplayed the Stars as well. So, and the Bruins definitely outplayed them in that opener, but. Yeah, so I'm pretty happy to find a little bit of value against the Stars here, but I think you can find some value betting against any of these players. Really, I mean, you never know with Tristan Jarry and the Penguins, but I don't think the Penguins are necessarily terrible defensively, right? So, but yeah,
all their D are still there, and they're losing their stars, I guess. So they're playing a more defensively focused game and have their muckers and grinders.
It's very interesting. I mean, they've proven me wrong. I thought they were going to be a below average team without Malkin and Crosby, and then you take Guentzel out as well. But now Brian Rust obviously is out week to week, but Guentzel's back in. Crosby could return any day here. Malkin is not going to be back for a while, but it's just a game by game thing. So I totally think that the Penguins can continue to play with this sort of vigor or whatever you want to call it that they have over these last few games. Because like I said, it's just a game by game thing where that right around the corner, Crosby's back, Rust is back, and then down the road, Malkin's back. And I mean, goaltending is always going to be a concern, but I'm a little bit disappointed that they didn't really struggle out of the gate because I was hoping to buy in on this team at like 40-1 to win the Stanley Cup, right? I mean, they've never had Crosby and Malkin healthy for what seems like, the better part of a decade at the same time. So kind of interested to see what happens after the new year when both players are back, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Any other bets that you've got? The only, like, I mean, the biggest bet that I made, obviously, and I'm guessing it's the biggest bet that you made, was the Colorado Avalanche at minus 110 or better. But I did have the Canucks. You're on the Sabres. I've
Mhm.
got a little bit on the Penguins. Where are you anywhere? Oh, and I've also got a little bit on the Islanders. Where are you at elsewhere? Any other
I
games?
something small on Nashville, Seattle, and Detroit, and then a bet on the Sharks. I had a bet against
Yeah,
the
okay.
Sharks against the Jets earlier last week, and
Boo.
it was a good one to win. I don't know why my model seems to like the Sharks, but why not?
Aiden Hill probably helps, but you
Yeah,
would. I mean, definitely thought the loss of Evander Kane, because like him or not, or he was their leading scorer the last 2 seasons,
yeah,
and he's a guy that produces shots and chances on a regular basis. So I was definitely like not. I was definitely bearish on that team, but Aiden Hill gives them a little bit of a new look. Definitely like what I saw out of. William Ekblad in the game against Winnipeg. He showed flashes of being somebody that could really turn a lot of heads this year. But that was a tough one because I thought the Jets would have a bounce back, and I also lost what I thought was a pretty good play on the Jets in the opener against Anaheim. So to go 0-2 on the Winnipeg Jets early this season against two teams that I thought they would beat up on, not great. But now you got the Sharks at plus 130. I'm looking for like plus 140 or better before I could justify that. So, but yeah, I think we should wrap this thing up. I don't want to keep you too much longer.
hmm
Already kept you about 10 minutes longer than I was planning on it, so I apologize for that.
no worries.
Um, Good luck, everybody. Check out tomorrow's report. Check out Dom's stuff every day on The Athletic. I saw they put up these little graphics now. When you scroll through, you can see Dom's best bet. It's really, you got to put it. It's like a little billboard right on the app for you there, and
I didn't even know that.
you got to check it out, man. You got to get in touch with your own product there, right? So,
Mhm.
but no, Dom is totally somebody I would follow along with every day. And between my stuff at VSiN and his over at the Athletic, I think you'll be well taken care of from a betting perspective. Thanks for joining me, Dom.
Thanks for having me, man.
Cheers.
Take care.
Bye.